Hi there, welcome back. So today's video we're going to make a beautiful boat shaped bowl using some Ammonite inlays and the lovely mould that you can see. Now both of these are made from silicone, so in theory the Ammonite inlays, they're not moulds, they're inlays, will fix enough, there we go, look where just sticking them down, to the surface of the mould of the bowl. Bits of this video have been sped up because obviously you take your time placing things or pouring things, and you don't need to sit and watch us do that for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Everything wherever possible that we've used in today's video will be linked in the description box below, just making it a bit easier for you should you decide you want to have a go at doing what we've done today, or having a go at making your own creation. So here we go, it's almost done there. Now we're going to use these. Now these are some Let's Resin alcohol inks, and this one here was actually from a lovely scoops bundle from Jules at Resin Jules and Helena at Resin etreSupplies. This alcohol pearl colour one was also from there. So they're alcohol inks. Now the process is to drop the colours in just carefully, drop at a time, onto the surface of this mould. So this is the boat shaped bowl. I'm calling it the boat shaped bowl. Some people might call it a stretched oval. In fact, no, I don't think I've ever heard anyone call it that, but a stretched oval shape perhaps. But there we go. So it's just repeating that step with all of the colours that we've shown you. Obviously you can use whatever colours you like. You don't have to do what we're doing. You could do a solid colour, totally up to you. Now what Wayne's doing is he's pouring over just some regular epoxy resin. The brand that this one was is a T-Expert resin, a 1-to-1 mixing ratio, so it's very easy to measure out and then mix together. And then he's just repeating the process, adding in the alcohol ink colours and then pouring over, carefully pouring over the clear epoxy resin. Decided not to use a 4-hour demold because we've not had a lot of luck with that recently. If you want to check out any of our previous videos where we've used these Ammonite inlays and also used Ammonite shaped silicone molds, then why not go on over to our playlist and you'll be able to see the successes and the failures maybe, or how we rescued one of our projects. There's a good 2-part video showing you exactly what happened there. So there we are, got to the top, gave it a little swirl around there. That's just with that's with a coffee stir stick. There we go. And then filling it up to the top, last little bit going in. Made sure he's completely happy and then put it to one side to cure. Now we had leftover resin, so Wayne thought I'm going to get the skull mold even, sorry about that, and just add in some of the inks that he'd been using, the alcohol inks. Look at the way that changed colour then when he added in the white. Don't forget, if you add yellow and blue, you're more often than not going to get green because that's the colour they make. So he's just repeating the steps. As I said, this bit has been sped up and you'll find that in some of the other sections of the video. But we quite like making skulls, not because we've got a fascination with everything that's like bones, but just the shape and the different effects, because not all of them are creepy. I don't know if that's the right word, but remind us a bit of the celebration, the Day of the Dead. I think that's in Mexico that happens. But you can make some lovely ornamental skulls, let's just put it that way. And I just love watching the way the colours are mixing in that. Now this is the following day. He also had enough to make a little one. Didn't show you the pouring technique with that because I didn't think you needed to see it. And just showing you this now. Demold time easily comes out, and you've got, it's mainly, this one was more yellowy green with the odd little bit of white and more of the blue perhaps, but it picks up in different detailed areas of the skull. Sometimes you get little different variations of the colours, but there we go. Now this is the green one. Now We didn't notice it at first when we were demoulding, that beautiful green on the back. But look at that. Can you see you've got the white round by the teeth and everything? But this hasn't quite... Well, it's not cured. It's cured, but it's behaved a bit like the 4-hour demould resin behaved when I tried to make ammonites before. So decided to remove it. Now all Wayne's doing here is just using a stir stick, regular wooden stir stick, and he's just pushing down to remove all of that. It's cured, but it's not cured completely. It's not cured as it should do, let's put it that way, resin. Now obviously Wayne's not using, or he's not wearing gloves. Please, by all means, make sure that you still wear your gloves if you're doing anything like this, because I wouldn't want you to have a bad reaction to the resin. And if you're anything like me, that will happen to you. Wayne said, yeah, with hindsight, doing this bit, he should have worn the gloves, but he's absolutely fine. So here's a bit of a close-up. Can you see? It's almost like a druzy crystal there. So we thought we'd use that idea. He loaded up a brush with way too much gold chrome Let's Resin chrome powder in the gold, and then just brushed it over the surface there, tapping it out there just to get rid of any excess that was left. Get a bit of a clean-up job. Now you need to seal in the chrome powder, and he'd done doing this by using some UV resin. There we go, and just popping that over the top there, and then using, these are some very, very small detailed, I'm going to call them Q-tips, but I'm not completely sure. I'm sorry about that. But I've said everything we use in today's video will be linked in the description box below. So I'll have found out. By the time I do that bit of the editing of this video, I'll have found out what they are. Smoothed it over the surface and then put it under the UV lamp to cure. Now demoulding the bowl. Here we go. Let's see. Has this worked? As I said, why not check out our playlist to see what we did with Aquacast and some inlays, to see how that worked. Did it work? Didn't it? That's the 2-part video that I talked about earlier. So the demoulds, yeah, we're quite pleased with it. The resin has cured beautifully. The only thing to say is that some of the resin has done it's very thin coat has gone over these inlays. So just remove those as best as you can. And as it's going to be very thin coat, it should easily come off. Here we go. I think Wayne's actually going to show you how he deals with that bit later on in the video, because this one was thoroughly coated there. Can you see? Normally you should just be able to peel these inlays out and they leave behind the pattern that you want. But yeah, some of them not so much. So here's a bit more of a detailed look at how he removed the inlays. Now bits of this video have been sped up because he took his time doing it. Just want to be careful that he didn't damage the rest of this beautiful bowl. So with a little sharp, I think that's actually a small kebab skewer, in fact, you managed to remove the first one. Now be careful because you don't want to damage the inlays either. What you want to do is just release them from this resin and make sure that there is no overhang of like thin layer of resin that went over the silicone inlay. Now you can trim it up using a craft knife, or you can go in there with a little small pair of scissors as well. So here we are, there we are, just removing the rest of them. They're all coming out pretty easily currently. There we go. And then just trimming up any of the little, like that overspill of resin with a craft knife, just very, very carefully there. Or if you prefer, you could use a little pair of very sharp scissors to do that too. But as you can see, you can just about make out the detail there. Now to the ones on the side. That one came in nicely. So did this one. This one's got a very thin coat. That had a very thin coat of resin over it. Now this one was the tricky one. Can you see that it's almost completely coated in resin? So he's gone in to remove the, should we say, overcoat of resin first, and then removing the inlay, just very carefully there, because you really don't want to damage that inlay. There we go. Look at that detail. You should just be able to capture that detail there now of the Ammonite inlays. That is stunning. Look at that. Now you can just leave it like that if you wish, but we decided to add a little bit more detail to it. Not with gold. Some of you would be quite surprised considering we tend to like to add gold accents to things. We've got a couple of areas that need a bit of repair. And all Wayne's done is he's put a little bit of the green tape that you use with UV resin, if you've ever seen that. And then he's just applying the tiniest bit of resin just in there. Now, if you have a look back through our videos on our playlist, there's a bit more of a close-up of me doing this to previous things where it's not quite worked. I can't remember which video off the top of my head currently that would be, but that is the situation. So you just create a dam or a barrier using the UV tape, and then you put the UV resin in a tiny bit at a time, smooth it, cure it, and then repeat that process if you need to. Now, we did feel that the detail on these Ammonite inlays needs to be a bit more obvious, let's just put it that way. So all Wayne's got is a very fine brush. He's got some white acrylic paint, and he's just brushing over the surface of the Ammonites. And there we go. You can really see it on that one. That was a bit thicker. Now, decided in the end that it wasn't quite enough. I mean, that does look beautiful, mind you, but it wasn't quite enough. So we repeated this process, not using the acrylic paint, because the acrylic paint just wasn't quite doing it, and we used some acrylic paint pens, which you'll see us using in a few moments, although I have to say these are coming out quite nicely. I think if you'd got a solid coloured background for them, you'd only need to do this stage. You probably would not need to do this stage that you can see Wayne doing now. So this is a white acrylic paint marker. I think these might actually be by etreSupplies as well. And he's just filling it in and then going in with this colour as well. So very similar to one of the colours that we use for the alcohol inks. There we go. Now, a tip that I should tell you about that Wayne didn't do, if you want them to blend more, is to do them one at a time. So do the white and then leave it a couple of minutes and then go in with this greeny blue colour or your other colour that you're going to use, and then you can get it to blend a bit more. So that's all he's doing. He's just going in, picking out a few of the details of the Ammonite there using this other colour. Can you see that? That's absolutely beautiful. Of course, nothing's stopping you from then going over with a little bit of silver, or dare I say gold. Those of you who know our channel will be laughing at this point when I say gold. Yeah, just giving it a little bit of bling. But we decided on this particular occasion not to do that. Yes, shock, horror and amazement. But there we go. So just filling it in there. Now, once that's dried, you can then, if you want to, apply a sealant to it. So you could use a little bit of varnish, obviously, on some brush and go in and brush it over, just to make sure that it's all completely sealed. We don't show you that process because we've actually left these because we want to see how the acrylic paint markers, how they fare, you know, because we haven't used these like this before. And we just want to see when they're dry, how, you know, sealed are they. We're not going to be putting any kind of liquid or soil or anything wet in these bowls, so we should be absolutely fine. But obviously, if you don't seal the surface and you've painted something, you're not always guaranteed that it's going to stay in the condition you want it to be. So, you know, use a bit of common sense and apply the sealant that you normally like using. Having said that, I am going to go back and actually just put some varnish on the top of those. But this is the final shot with the skulls. I think it looks absolutely beautiful there. Would look lovely in a bathroom or in a garden room, conservatory or something like that. Or just as lovely on a bookshelf displayed as a piece of art. So take care everyone, and thank you for watching. We'll see you again very soon.